Do you know somebody who played college ball in the state of Iowa and fell down virtually everybody's draft boards, wears number 13 or wore number 13, and immediately got thrust in the national spotlight because he's suddenly starting when nobody expected him to start at quarterback and then thrived? Do you know anybody about that?
Sounds familiar.
Okay.
Sounds like a familiar path.
What advice would you have for Brock Purdy right now, or have you reached out to him? Have you connected with him? Have you done anything with that? Or
I actually have connected with him through a friend, friend of mine that I actually played with. His son played with Brock Purdy, and asked if I would just reach out to him last week. So I don't know if what got back to Brock or not, but we've actually stayed in touch. I've followed him because of those things you're talking about, especially because he's an Arizona boy. So he played high school in Arizona, and then played at Iowa State. So I followed him and been a fan of his, and we've met over the years. What I would say is simply what people told me when I got into that situation is you don't have to go out and be somebody else. When I took over in St. Louis, Trent Green was tearing it up in preseason. I mean, he was the reason that we were so confident because he was playing great. And their point was, hey, you've got good players around you. Just be you. Just play your game. Do what you do well because we're good enough around you to be successful. And that freed me up to have the confidence to just play the game and play the way that I did. And for me, it was attacking down the field and not worrying about making a mistake or whatever. Just play and do what you've always done. And that would be my same advice to Brock Purdy, and very much what he did last week is just be Brock Purdy. Play your game. You're not in a situation where they're expecting you to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every week. They're not going to ask you to drop back 35, 40 times. So play the game, settle in, and know, hey, if a play's not there, we can punt. Those kinds of things are part of being confident at the position, that you don't have to prove something to everybody with every single throw. And I thought he did a great job of that last week, making the plays that were there. Did some really good things of moving and against pressure. But if they get that kind of performance, just making those kinds of throws every week with the talent they've got around them, I think they've got a chance, kind of like our team in '99, to make a run and to compete in the NFC and maybe for a Super Bowl championship, because they're that good. And he played really, really solid football last week.
Now, because in '99 there weren't mobile devices that would put, opinions and videos. There was nothing back then, Kurt, where you would trend. You definitely would have trended, if there was Twitter at the time, and shows like this one didn't exist. It was just basically ESPN and some sports talk. But did you, what advice would you have for him, to keep his head screwed on straight? I mean, the amount of people who are no doubt knocking on his door right now must be through the roof compared to 2 weeks ago, so.
Yeah. The advice I would always give, and I think it applies no matter what era, is just be realistic about who you are and where you're at. And so there are going to be articles out there that, for whatever reason, knock you down. And I think sometimes there can be value in those articles when you read them and go, oh, you know what, that makes sense. And then there's other times you can read it and go, that's just ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. They don't know what they're talking about. And vice versa, with really good articles, where somebody's, oh, man, he's great. And you look at it and go, oh, that's not really accurate either. So I think having a realistic viewpoint of who you are and how you're playing, and then using everything, to kind of, to push in those chips to become better at what you do. I always use the example is that a lot of people ask me why I wore gloves at the end of my career. And it all started because, I read a couple articles that said, Kurt's not the same player because he had a bunch of hand injuries and he couldn't control the ball the way that he did early in his career. Now, I practiced every day and I threw the ball, and I'm thinking, there's no way. I'm throwing the ball as well as I ever have. That's not realistic. But there was always something in the back of my mind that said, but what if? What if there is something that, maybe I'm fumbling the ball a little bit more in the pocket because I don't have the arm strength or the hand strength that I used to have. What if? And that was really why I went on the quest to put on gloves, is to go, well, if there's some truth to that, what could I possibly do to counter that? And for me, it was let's just try gloves. And so as long as I can throw the football the way I always did, and if there is some kind of something that it gives me an advantage with, or, mentally, whatever that is, try it. And that's really what pushed me on that path to wear gloves the last 3 years of my career. And I don't know to this day if it helped or not. But what I know is that I took that information and said, I can understand why people are saying that, and there may be some truth to it. Let me attack that and see what I can do for it. And so I think that, to me, is very, very important for every player. It's not just to shun everything that, I don't want to say critiques you, but, every analyst that talks about this is what they do well, but this is what they need to improve on. Listen to those things. Take what is true and apply it to your game, and I believe that's how we all get better.
Well, I think if he continues doing what he's doing, Kurt, we need to start a 13 club to counter Michael's 88 club.
Oh,
certainly.
I like it.
Seriously.
I like it. There's a number of guys out there. We could do that.
Brockman, you wore 13?
I wore 13 in high school, Kurt.
There you go.
Oh, all right. We got 2 people in the club already.
No, he's not in the club.
What?
Oh,
Come
what?
on. Just doesn't matter any level. I mean, Irv makes 88. 88.
I got to understand how good he was. Like, isn't that what the 88
Chris?
club is, like, good performers in that number? So I don't think it really matters what level you play at.
Thank you, Kurt. However, I did throw 3 picks in the playoff game that we lost.
No.
I threw 3 picks numerous times. Don't worry about it.
Hey, okay. See, you're too nice, Kurt. I don't think he should be in the club, but it's okay. But seriously, the Football 101 segment you do with Irv, because he's 88, you're 13.
Yeah.
Football 101, let's get more 13s in there.
I like it.
Do you know why Purdy?
We have to start applying that.
I wonder why Purdy wears 13. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
haven't heard a story behind that, so I don't know.
Well, if he keeps playing, we're going to find out. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.